Hi, today we're going to be looking at the past perfect in English. You'll learn how and when to use it, and keep watching until the end as there'll be some questions to see how much you've learned. I've also changed my software. Hope you like it. Let me know in the comment section down below. So let's get started. So imagine the scene. Tom left for work at 8 a.m. and Sue rang the doorbell at 8:30. So let's draw a timeline, and we've got Tom left here and we've got Sue ringing the doorbell here. Now these are in the past simple, rang and left, because we use the past simple for completed actions in the past. But say we want to join these two sentences together. We'd say Sue rang the doorbell at 8:30, or Sue rang the doorbell, but Tom had already left. And here you can see we use the past perfect, had already left, because we're referring to an earlier past. So Tom left before Sue rang the doorbell in the past. So we use the past perfect. Okay, so let's look at the form. So the form of the past perfect is to use had plus the past participle. So we'd say I had left, and often I had is abbreviated to just I'd, and therefore also I'd, he'd, she'd, etc. So let's look at another example. When we got home last night, someone had broken into the flat. Okay, so again we've got a timeline. This is now and this is the past. So here we can mark the events in the past. Here we've got someone breaking into the flat, and here we've got us when we got home. So again, two actions completed in the past. So the first one we put got in the past simple, and broken in we use the past perfect because it's an earlier past. So it comes before the event of us getting home. So to show that it's previous, it's an earlier past, we use the past perfect. Okay, so the past perfect, as we've just seen, is often used with adverbs such as already, just, and never. So let's look at an example. So we've got Bob didn't want to see the play because he had already seen it. So again, we're looking at a timeline. This is now, and we've got the two events. He didn't want to see it. We say this in the past simple, and an earlier past, we say had already seen. It comes before didn't want to see, and it's an earlier past. So we use the past perfect. And here you can see the adverb already, and it comes between the auxiliary and the past participle. So had already seen is the past perfect. So let's look at another example. This time we're looking at the adverb never. So he had never eaten snails before. He had never eaten snails before he came to France. So here we're looking at, again, two events in the past, and we're going to draw a timeline so you can see when these events happened. So let's draw the timeline. Here we've got now, and we've got the event of coming to France, it's in the past, and we've got the event of never eating snails, which comes before. So he had never eaten. Again, you can see the adverb comes in between the auxiliary and the past participle. Let's look at another example. We're going to compare two sentences this time, and you can see the difference between the usage of the verbs. So the first sentence is James had cooked breakfast when we got up. And again, we've got a timeline, and you can see now is here. But also, let's see the events. So had cooked is an event that happened before we got up. So again, it's an earlier past, so we use the past perfect. Whereas if we use the past simple, so here we've got cooked, which is in the past simple, and got up in the past simple. This time, if we draw a timeline, you can see that the events are in a different order. We got up, and then James cooked breakfast. And that is shown purely from the use of the two different tenses. So the past simple with both verbs shows you a different order to if you use the past perfect and the past simple. Remember, a past perfect is showing an earlier past. Let's look at another example. The house is dirty. They haven't cleaned it for weeks. So this time we're going to be looking at comparison between the present perfect and the past perfect. So again, let's draw a timeline, and we've got now and the past, and haven't cleaned is the present perfect. And this shows you that it's up until now. The present perfect has always an impact on now. So the house is dirty and they haven't cleaned it up until now. So this is why we use the present perfect, as you can see from the timeline. However, if we said the house was dirty, they hadn't cleaned it for weeks. Here you can see we're using the past perfect, hadn't cleaned it for weeks. The timeline is different because the meaning is different. Okay, so let's look at the timeline. We've got now, and we've got the past, and we've got hadn't cleaned. So this time it's up until a point in the past where they hadn't cleaned it, but it means that it's now finished and it's in the past. It's not still dirty, the house. So this is the difference between the present perfect and the past perfect. So they had finished work when I got there. So here you can see the first verb had finished is in the past perfect, and the second verb is in the past simple. So let's look at a timeline. Here we've got had finished, an earlier past, and we've got there. So here, because you've used the past perfect and the past simple, you can tell the order of events. You can see that had finished, being the past perfect, is an earlier event than the got there, which is in the past simple. So you know the order of events purely by the use of the verbs. However, you can make it clearer by using a different conjunction to show the order of events. Here we use when, whereas you could say they had finished work before I got there, and this actually adds clarity to the order of events. Okay, so now it's your turn. I blank him because I blank him several times before. Use the verbs recognize and see. So I recognized, yes, I recognized him because I had seen him several times before. This is using recognized in the past simple, and because it's an earlier past, we use had seen him in the past before you recognized him. Think of the timeline, which event comes first, and then which verb tense you need to use. Okay, number 2. He blank by the time we blank. Use the verbs already, eat, and arrive. The already there is a bit of a clue, isn't it? He had already eaten by the time we arrived. So here we have the past perfect, had eaten, with the adverb already in between the auxiliary and the past participle, and arrived in the past simple. So which event came first? The earlier past is the past perfect had eaten, and past simple is the arrived. Philip blank at the party because he blank his leg playing football the day before. Use the verbs is not and break. So here we want a negative. So we use wasn't and had broken. So wasn't is the past simple in the negative of is, and had broken is the past perfect of to break. So the events, again thinking of your timeline, he broke his leg in an earlier past, before he wasn't at the party. So we put had broken in the past perfect. Congratulations, you now know how to use the past perfect in English. Please remember to like this video if you found it useful, share it with your friends and colleagues learning English, and remember to subscribe to my channel Oxford English Now for more free English language videos out every Friday. Thank you for watching.